Mount Everest. It's one of the first facts we all learn at school, isn't it? What's the highest mountain in the world? It's Mount Everest. And in fact, over time, just the mountain's name alone has become synonymous with adventure and achievement and being the best you can be. And while many mountain climbers dream of one day summiting the world's highest peak, many more aspire just to see it, just to get to the first step of that journey, which is Everest Base Camp. Everest Base Camp, the departure point for all expeditions to the summit. It's where climbers who are going to go on and try and tackle the summit spend, I think, quite a few days acclimatising and getting ready for the hardest part of the trek ahead. And getting to Everest Base Camp, a bit of a trekking milestone in itself. If you would like to go there, if you're looking for a challenge to test your physical and mental limits by trekking to Everest Base Camp, well, Momentum Mental Health may have the perfect opportunity for you in early 2023. The team are taking on the challenge, led by Momentum Health Board Chairman Chris Black. He's throwing out the invitation for anyone who wants to join him and a group of 19 others in April next year to take on a trek to Everest Base Camp. He joins me now. Chris Black, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, David. Thanks for having me, mate.
Chris, how challenging is the trek to Everest Base Camp? Tell me.
It's certainly not easy, but you don't need to be a marathon runner to complete it. General fitness, I think, is more important, and basically a patience, I think, to get up the hill very slowly as you acclimatise to the altitude is really important. So it's going to be an amazing adventure, and we're obviously extremely excited about it.
And what sparked your desire to take this on?
A couple of things, David. It's always been on my bucket list to complete something like Everest or Everest Base Camp. Probably some life changes over the last 12 months have fast forwarded to do it now rather than wait. If the last few years of COVID have taught us anything, you don't know what's around the corner. So there's no time like the present to achieve something like this, David.
And was this was it something that you were always going to do, even if it was just with a group of friends, or was it always going to be a bit of a corporate challenge, a fundraiser and an awareness raiser for the work that Momentum Health does as well?
Yeah, it was probably my personal journey more than the corporate side of it. But talking to a few people, there seemed to be some interest. Outside of that, Momentum Mental Health is all about the journey of life, being active, learning, helping others. And I thought, why not throw the challenge out to the community to do something pretty incredible, go on a journey with all of us and for the common good of raising some money for Momentum Mental Health and what it does. It's really exciting.
That's great. And tell me a little bit more about the trek itself. I mean, you mentioned, and people need to remember too, that even though it's only Everest Base Camp, it's not a walk in the park, as you've alluded to there. And I think the biggest challenge is you need to overcome, or you need to allow yourself time to get used to that altitude. A lot of people come down with altitude sickness just making it to base camp. But where do you start from, and how long does this trek take for walkers of reasonable fitness?
Yeah, absolutely. So we fly into Kathmandu, which is the heartland, I suppose, of trekking through the Himalayas. We then fly through to Lukla, which is a very exciting airport, sort of stuck in the side of the mountain. And then from there, we embark on a 12-day trek over about 120 kilometres, which isn't a lot when you break it down, about 10 kilometres a day, give or take. Trekking can be anywhere from sort of 3 hours to sort of 7 or 8. So it is just a constant sort of slog, but it's a beautiful, obviously, part of the world. We then get to Everest Base Camp after a few little detours, and we're lucky enough to be guided by Ben Southall from Best Life Adventures, who's an English-speaking guide, but has a lot of connections over there with Sherpas and has lived over there as well. So we've got some amazing off-the-grid opportunities that we're going to invite our guests to complete. And we've also got the opportunity to actually stay in Everest Base Camp for the night as well, which is very rare unless you're actually doing the whole mountain. So From there, we descend for 2 days, and then fly out of Lukla back to Kathmandu, and either that's a great gateway for a bit more of a holiday into the subcontinent, or likewise jump on a plane to come home.
Why does it take? Did you say you descend, so it only takes 2 days to get back? But what did we say? 12 or 10 days or so to get up there?
Yeah, it's about acclimatising to the altitude.
Right.
And one of the things that you've mentioned is the altitude sickness. So walking up very precisely and slowly gives your body and mind time to adjust to the reduced levels of oxygen as you go higher. Everest Base Camp is about 5,300 odd metres high. So, it is a fair way up. And just creeping up the mountain and getting your body to acclimatise is how you naturally get used to it. And if you go, quicker than that, you can have things like dizziness and headaches. But it is quite common, but also very overcomeable as well. And Ben and his team have got a great track record of getting people up and down quite safely as well, which is good.
And I think, for a lot of people, when they hear the name Ben Southall, they know, they remember his best job in the world, him winning that campaign, and so they know he can wield a selfie stick like a boss, but obviously he's done some much more daring and sort of cutting-edge adventures since then, so he does this sort of thing quite often.
Absolutely, yeah. He goes over to Everest and does this journey a couple of times a year, as well as other adventure events, around the world as well. So we're definitely in good, safe hands with him. As I mentioned as well, we've got a team of Sherpas that are locals, and they're the knowledge on the ground, so to speak. It's fully supported with first aid, some Sherpas to help us with our baggage and those sort of things. But we're in definitely very safe hands with Ben guiding us up the mountain. And
I think the thing about going to Everest Base Camp, which I'm sure you'd agree, Chris, is that you're there. That is the send-off point for those who are going to take on the actual peak of Everest. And I would imagine while you're there, you're spending time there with people who are planning to go on. So there'd be some fantastic conversations to have, and it's just a historic site in itself, isn't it? I mean, it really is a destination in its own right.
Oh, absolutely. It's steeped in history, and the Western world has got a fascination with Everest, as you know. But from the local side of it, the Tibetan culture, it's a sacred mountain as well. So it will be a spiritual journey, I think, and something that will be life-changing for anybody that is willing and daring to join us. So, it's going to be a life-changing trip. I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
So you're having a night coming up where people who are keen to find out a little bit more, this is coming up next Wednesday, 7th of September at Fitzy's, where you and Ben will be talking about it and whetting people's appetite if they'd like to go along. Tell me what, so people, anyone who's thinking about it should definitely go along to that. Starts at 5:15. But what sort of fitness level would they need to have? What are the prerequisites for taking on a trip like this?
You certainly have to have probably an average and above level of fitness now. But the beautiful thing about it, we've got 8 months to go before we start the journey. So even if you aren't at your peak of your fitness powers today, we've got time to help improve that. So I think anyone that's got a base level of fitness, that's got decent leg strength, but more importantly, has an ability to sort of keep going day after day for that 12 days, I think is more important than, an explosive gym junkie that has big muscles. It is a slow and steady will win the race type event. So I don't be scared off if you're not extremely fit. I think people of average fitness with a good mindset and some training can absolutely get up the mountain.
Nothing that, a couple of hundred scalings of Mackenzie Street in Mount Lofty can't fix up.
We've got a beautiful training ground up here in the hills.
We do,
don't we, David? Yes. Plenty of ranges and beautiful walking trails that can get us there.
Absolutely. I don't know if you get altitude sickness by the time you get to the top of Mackenzie, but you'd be close, I think. How does the fundraising part of it go, Chris? How does that work?
Yeah, so obviously part of the journey, we'd like to do it for a reason, and the cause is momentum mental health. And given that Everest is nearly 5.5, or Everest Base Camp is nearly 5,500 metres high, we've put a fundraising target for every individual that does want to join us of $1 per metre, so about $5,500. We'd love everybody individually to raise, which will obviously go a long way to supporting the mental health services that we offer in the community.
Fantastic. And then, of course, on top of that, they pay for their own airfares over there, etc.
Yes, correct. So a lot of the information will be sort of in detail on the night next Wednesday, and we'd absolutely love to see everybody there. And again, I think even if you do have a general interest but don't know much about it, that night will be a great way to understand what's involved and also some of the costs as well.
Sounds great. I wish you the best of luck with that. We'll encourage people to get along next Wednesday night. If you miss those details, give us a call. But Chris, a pleasure to have a chat to you this morning.
Thank you, David. I'd love to see everyone there and all the people in the community that are keen on a journey and a life-changing event, David. So I'd love to see you there too, mate.
I may come along just out of interest, Chris. I appreciate your time. All the best.
Thanks.